What's up, everybody? Got Josh Lewis here, Jesse,
What's up?
and of course the extremely handsome Rick Falomir. Which, by the way, I have all of his posters on my wall, and I actually cut out like chest things and put it on there. Anyway, that's a whole nother story. Anyway, we're here with National Drum League. We're doing some interviews with some dudes and just seeing what everyone's doing during quarantine and how everyone's feeling. And we're really excited about this interview because I actually grew up idolizing Ricky's first band, the Assorted Jellybeans, and he taught me how to do the ska beat, which is I never would have had the opportunity to do what I did if it wasn't for that dude. So thank you, Rick Falomir. We love you. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. I think you're being too kind, though. You knew how to play that beat. I'm doing good. I'm stuck in a little box. I've been in here for about 4 months now. I haven't left, but I'm doing good.
Yeah, I've been in this box for about the same amount of time.
I see you have drums in there. That's all you need. I got some right here. So
It helps.
drums and water. That's all you really need.
Drums and fluid.
What else do you need?
It's the lifeblood. Water is the lifeblood.
Be careful what you ask for, because you'll get it.
Right. So, Ricky, tell us a little bit about your history. When did you start playing drums?
Let's see. Man, I was pretty young when I started playing. My dad was a musician, and I think my earliest memory was probably right around like 7, maybe like 6 or 7. My dad had a studio in the back of our house, and he wrote music, and he played drums, he played guitar. He kind of played everything like well. And I'd get on the drums back there, and the second I would start playing them, I knew like, this is it. This is what I want to play. So it was pretty early on. I didn't have a drum set until high school though, because it was once that my dad, like I started playing in that studio with him, and then he got rid of that studio and shifted totally towards guitar and just like producing music. So the drums went away, but I didn't get a drum set till high school. So I really started playing seriously in high school, I would say, because that's when I got a drum set and I joined like marching band and all that stuff. So, yeah.
So did you march all through high school?
Haha. I was in beginning band, and then I marched for a couple of years, and then jazz band is where it was.
Awesome.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Marching band was incredible. I enjoyed it very much. I miss it a lot.
I highly suggest anyone starting to play drums and has not gone through high school yet, join marching band, because just what you learn in that class, I still use to this day.
Absolutely.
Like there's something about marching drummers that like their technique is just, it's all technique, you know? And
I
huge.
agree 100%. I too was in marching band, and it gives you a sense of rhythm. It sets you up for everything else. I mean, literally marking time while you're playing something completely different with your hands.
Yep.
It's absolutely vital. Absolutely vital.
So huge. Yeah. That was awesome. And then, so pretty much like started seriously in high school, I would say. Yeah. I took a few lessons like growing up and whatnot. But they were few and far between. I would say high school, marching band, jazz band is where it was for sure.
Did you have a band in high school?
So I had actually Assorted Jellybeans was started while I was in high school. I think I was in 10th grade. And during that time, we had another high school band, which we shared members of Assorted Jellybeans. And so kind of you know how high school is, just a bunch of jam bands and whatnot. But Assorted Jellybeans was like the serious thing. And we kind of started getting gigs in like 10th, 11th grade. And it kind of took off from there. So that was our high school band. And fortunately enough, we got lucky to be put on shows. Which is kind of rad. Yeah.
You ended up on Kung Fu and...
The first band on Kung Fu, I might add.
Who would have thought, you know? That was all based off of Joe Escalante's wife hearing us on KSPC do a cover of Operation Ivy's Knowledge. We did a cover of that, and they're like, so that's kind of what sparked their interest. And then we got the phone call, or somewhere along the line, we met up with him and started that dialogue. But yeah, crazy.
That was wild.
Kung Fu Records. That was a great time.
So Ricky,
yes.
Tell us about the first time you started recording with Assorted Jellybeans, and what was the transition from just playing live and, of course, playing in high school and marching band to actually having to dissect your entire recording and to make sure that you were doing it exactly right. Was that an easy process, or was that something you had to work through?
It was. So I said earlier that my dad had a studio, so I kind of saw how the process went. Mm-hmm. But doing it for yourself and performing, like back then it was, you had to get a full take, and it was on tape. It wasn't digital, so you had to do it over and over again. And fortunately, we were at that point in time, we were well rehearsed because we were really serious about it. It went pretty smoothly for the most part. But I did learn a lot. Warren Fitzgerald produced that, and he kind of taught us a lot about like songwriting and composing things so that they made sense and they weren't boring. So he had a huge hand in our first record. But I would say throughout that process, learning like all the tricks, like at a bridge that, that's because we had parts that were like taken out and added. So all that stuff, like the songs really shaped up in the studio, I would say. But it went pretty smooth. I think we got it done in like 3 days in Los Angeles, which was, for us, I felt like that was pretty good.
Yeah, it's a total different ball game now.
Yeah.
With punching and everything else, it's just so much easier.
Yeah, you ever run into that, like punching in something that's kind of really gnarly and you nail it that one time, and then it's cool. It's a double-edged sword because you shoot for the stars, and maybe you like land it that one time and you get it. You kind of set the bar really high for yourself, and then you you push yourself to perform it, which is kind of cool. Absolutely. So I kind of look at the positive sides of all that. Like, it's weird that guitar players used to punch in all the time, so why can't drummers? It's like, let's do it. Yeah. But yeah, total different time back then.
Yeah. I've been programming drums for some Murderland demos and some new stuff that we're working on. And I've gotten very ambitious with some of the parts that I'm writing for these songs, and I'm like, I really can't wait to like actually play these parts. Like,
and I'll tell you this, Rick, between learning your parts to play with the Assorted Jellybeans when you were busy with the Aquabats and learning his parts to cover for him for Murderland, I'm like, dude, can't you guys water it down just a little bit for us that are it? I'm having a hard time here, guys. All right, you need to just.
Well, we're not playing pop music, so it is kind of punk. You gotta just go for it. Just throw the drum set down the stairs and press record.
Right.
That's what you do. That's how we come up with drum parts.
Absolutely, man. Sexy drum parts, man. You guys are always tasty. I've always loved your fills, your part. Fantastic. It's awesome, bro. It's awesome.
Dude, thank you.
So much fun to learn, too. They're so much fun. Put on a set of headphones, and I'm sitting out here by myself, just air drumming like, ooh, I like that. Ooh, that's tasty. You know what I mean?
I still enjoy playing those songs. It's super fun. It's good stuff. And that's how like that first record of ours I feel like it held up pretty well, we can still play those songs and people will dance, which is cool.
Absolutely.
So do you remember what your first drum set was?
It was kind of like a Frankenstein thing. So the very first drum set was, my dad kind of like pieced it together through friends of his. So it was part CB700. Most of it was part CB700, and it was a Yamaha snare drum. So for a while, I just had the toms, the kick, and the snare. I didn't have cymbals. And then like about a month later, a Zildjian ride cymbal showed up, and then I had some some pretty cheesy hi-hats because they were pretty expensive back in the day. So I played on that for a while. And then my grandpa kicked down some money to get me a legit drum set. And then that was a Remo drum set, actually, because we had some family friends that worked at Remo. So that was like the first drum set that I bought brand new. It was a Remo drum set, which they don't make drums anymore, but it was pretty rad. It was that weird wood, like, I don't even know what kind of wood it was.
Poplar?
I was gonna say
No, it was like pressed, almost like cardboard. It was really strange, but it sounded good. It was cool. That's what I used on the record. But yeah, so I would say my first like legit drum set that I purchased new was a Remo.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's rad.
And then now you have endorsement with DW?
So just recently, I moved over to PDP, actually. So it's in the DW family, but I'm a PDP artist, which is kind of been, to be within that family has been a bucket list thing for me.
Yeah.
That was like, I've just always been a fan of their gear and everything that they do. So I'm super excited to be there. It's just happened all of a sudden too. It like the stars aligned and the planets aligned, and I had to go for it. So super honored to be on that team. A lot of good drummers, and they make great gear for sure.
They make great drums. My first brand new drum set, my parents bought for me for my graduation present for high school in 2003. It was this guy actually gave me my first drum set. It was a Rockwood something or other. And
it was made by Sesame Street.
It did what it needed to do until an actual drum set. But I beat the shit out of that PDP for 15 years before I finally put it up on the shelf and just gave it a break.
Yeah.
They build great drums.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
It smelled fantastic in the fireplace, I'll tell you that much.
And for what you can pay for them too, I think they give a lot of people the opportunity to have a really nice drum set at a really reasonable price, because they make great drums affordable, which is rad. So that was always my issue growing up. I couldn't afford a drum set. It was so expensive. It was so expensive growing up.
Which means a whole lot. Absolutely. Like you said, affordable drums, because I grew up in a single family home as well. And the drummer, I mean, you're basically asking your parents to buy you the most expensive piece of equipment.
Thousands of dollars.
Hey, so I want for the most expensive instrument there is. Everything all the time.
We might get evicted also because of the noise, but it's okay. We can find a new place. Who cares? Right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
The hardest instrument to play, to pack up, to load up, to buy, to facilitate a place to like even find place to play, but it's well worth it.
Not to mention,
because look.
Yeah, exactly. All four of us are talking. Have you ever had your bandmates help you load or unload your equipment?
We have more stuff than them, and they still expect us to help them.
We help them.
Man.
And they don't
I don't want to open that can of worms right now. Let me tell you.
That's fair. That's fair.
I don't want to open that can of worms.
For very long, so I don't really mind.
Plus, we're the most athletic and the best looking of any band. You know what I'm saying? The drummers are always the best looking, so.
Well, that's why they put us in the back.
Exactly. Precisely why.
Get back there. Stay back there. Play that beat. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Absolutely true.
So,
are those new glasses?
They actually are. I got them on sale at Kmart. Only $4.99, but they came with a cool little sticker that says "I'm cooler than no one." So
that sticker alone is worth $4.99. I'm
absolutely
legit.
Just going to a Kmart is worth it too, because there's not too many left of those around, are there?
Oh,
no, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's like finding a KB Toys. You know what I mean? We all
Yeah.
went there as kids, and they're not around anymore. So.
Kmart holding down the Inland Empire.
There's one in Orange County too.
Is that okay? Is it a super Kmart?
No, it's a Kmart, but they only have like 3 packs of top ramen and like a can of tuna, I think, and that maybe like water. I think that's all they have now.
Well, I think Ricky, you should be Mr. Blue Light Special and run around the store when they announce that.
I think you get arrested for that now, so I don't know if I want to do that.
After the Blue Light.
I'm gonna stay in my musical bunker in here. I'm just gonna hang out here.
As long as you have plenty of toilet paper, you'll be A-okay, Rick.
Yeah.
Nope, don't have that either. I have water and drums.
There you go. That's all you need.
One of them will work.
So, Ricky, tell us about the transition over to the Aquabats.
Okay, so let's see. When Assorted Jellybeans was we were kind of just taking a break. Shows just naturally stopped happening, and kind of looking for other things to do. And the bat commander from the Aquabats approached me to like maybe do a side project. And we were talking about doing like an MC bat commander, like a rap thing, because I made a lot of beats on my 4-track back then. And that turned into me trying out for the Aquabats. So awesome. The transition from Assorted Jellybeans to the Aquabats was, for me, it wasn't that hard at all because I really loved all the songs. And when you have the ability to play for a band that you love and you're actually a fan of, it's like a labor of love. And so I feel like that transition should be smooth, and it's a lot of fun learning the songs. So I felt like it was a good fit, and it was just a lot of fun. We didn't have a show for a while either, so we had a lot of time to practice. So I had been in the band for almost a year before we started playing.
Okay.
The Aquabats. So I just remember that first show though, man. I was so excited. I just couldn't like contain myself. I think the songs were twice as fast. Just trying to like hold back.
Typical.
But yeah, the music's very similar. It's high energy, so I think it was a pretty natural transition. And the guys are great. They're all like really good people, really good dudes, just like hanging out with your friends. So it was pretty natural. It was easy. Easy peasy.
I can attest to that because I grew up a fan of the Assorted Jellybeans and listening to them. I was in junior high school and I was a huge fan. So when I started hanging out with Ricky Boyer, the bass guitarist for AJB, he asked me if I wanted to jam with him, and I was like, "Oh, absolutely, dude! Are you kidding me? I love these songs." So to like spend the time learning the songs and like learning your parts and like trying to like emulate that feel, that stage feel, it was so much fun. I had an absolute blast learning the Assorted Jellybean songs. It wasn't even where I was like, you don't even have to pay me. I want to do this. I want to do this.
It's always better being a fan of the band before you join the band or are asked to try out for the band or whatever. It's not only an honor, but it just makes it that much. You already love these songs. And when I first joined Murderland in 2007, I had met the dudes about a year prior, and we became real good friends. And I loved the first record that they put out, Lights Out, 7-song EP. I loved every song on there. And then I got the opportunity, and I was just like, oh, man, this is great. And I ended up getting the spot. And it's just like, now I'm still a fan of my own band. I always will be. Both of them. I love everything that they write on both sides. And it's when the songs are good, it's hard not to continue to be a fan. But it just always makes it that much easier to jump into it, knowing and loving the songs going in.
Yeah, some of my favorite songs to play to this day are songs I didn't even record. They're songs Travis Barker, I'm playing his parts from The Fury of the Aquabats, because that record is so good. It's perfect. And so those are some of my favorite songs to play. I love them. So I'm still a fan of the band. It's rad.
Dan, that is so rad to hear too, to hear you say that, because I was a fan of yours growing up, you know, and like when you fill in for somebody, like when you love their parts and enjoy their parts so much, it's such a great feeling to do it with the people that drummer did it with. And I've always respected you so much, dude. And I love your drumming, and you're stylistic. And when you play live, you'll always throw in these little flared things, these things that are a little bit different from how you recorded the album, and they're so tasty, and it's amazing, dude. I love watching you play, man.
You know what's funny is like there's like two different drummers. There's drummers who I admire, who will, like Jimmy Eat World, like that guy will play the songs it sounds just like the record. It's incredible. And so all along, like like our career, I like to change it up and like play it just a little different, or like if you're feeling something different. And so sometimes we Assorted Jellybeans would shoot ourselves in the foot because it wouldn't always work out. You wouldn't always land the skateboard trick, you know, but when you did, it was like, oh man, that worked out great. So it's fun to experiment, but I think refining ourselves and like learning over the years, like trying to find the happy medium between playing them the way they were recorded and playing them how you want to play them, because you want to give the fans what they want to hear, right? But you also want to have fun doing it.
Yeah.
So when you're playing songs, you know, 100 times, you tend to change it up a little bit, but it's good to experiment. Keep it fresh.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, like I was saying, you know, playing with Rick in the rhythm section of AJB, basically all we had to do was keep it together and just find that pocket and let Wiley just do and it worked, man. It worked. So I feel it, dude, and it's awesome. It's an amazing feeling.
You did a great job, man. You do a great job.
Oh,
it's like
you're the sweetest guy ever, and you're super.
I'm secretly jealous of you because you can play guitar really well, sing, and play drums. That's not allowed, dude.
That we know how to play guitar, but it's really just pretend.
Anyways, let's talk about me some more. Anyways, so
what about
you know?
Do you play any other instruments at all?
I do, but I write music. Like I started like a caveman making just hip hop beats, and then it grew into like when Yo Gabba Gabba happened, the TV show. I kind of had to like branch out a little bit and learn how to play things. And fortunately, I was around a lot of really talented musicians who taught me a lot of things. The other songwriters on the TV show. So I learned along the way how to like play, you know, keyboards, piano. I could play guitar, but I mostly do like leads and like a lot of punch-in stuff. Bass, but very just minimal, just well enough to write a song or create a bass line for a song. I couldn't perform it though. Maybe keyboards, but I guess for writing purposes, I can play music.
Yeah, that was actually my next question was talk about Yo Gabba Gabba and your experience there.
So I was lucky enough to be one of the 4 main songwriters on Yo Gabba Gabba. So we were responsible for writing a lot of music. The show is based on music mostly, so it's a musical show. So we had to write a lot of music. So fortunately, I was able to come along on the ride and wrote a bunch of songs, worked with a bunch of amazing artists, learned a lot about composing for TV and writing for other artists and their style. So it's kind of cool. We've had some amazing opportunities. And to me, that whole wasn't really a job, but it was like a dream. We really didn't know what was happening when it was happening. We were just like,
sure,
we were going for it, you know. It's very DIY, and we were just going for it, and had a lot of amazing opportunities working on that show.
Now I know it kind of ran for like 8 years, but how long were you actually shooting episodes?
So let's see, 2000.
I think 7.
I would say about 4 years.
Okay, so you guys started around 2006, I'm guessing, and then
Yep.
you guys looked like 2010, and then of course they're kind of evergreen, so they just kept on showing them, I imagine.
For sure. And then we did the Aquabat show after that.
Mhm.
Well, actually, the Aquabat show and Yo Gabba Gabba kind of butted up against each other. So we went on hiatus for Yo Gabba Gabba and shot the first season of the Aquabat show, and then back to Yo Gabba. So
Gotcha.
that kind of was after Yo Gabba. So I would say about 4.5 years is the duration of that production.
Gotcha.
Yeah. A lot of cool stuff.
Is there any additional shows you guys are working, like any pitching or anything like that?
Our singer, the Bat Commander, he's the creative genius behind all that, and he's always writing and pitching stuff. He has a podcast called The World's Best Dad Podcast, I believe.
Mhm.
So they're kind of focused on that right now. It's pretty cool. You should check it out. But there's always the hopes to get the other shows up and running again. And he's always working on shows. So hopefully something hits and
Yeah.
we have that opportunity again. So we'll see. Hopeful. Fingers crossed.
Right. And of course, everything's recycled anyways now too. So
Yeah.
5 years from now, it's a reboot, and then everyone's all excited about it again, and you reaching the next generation of the next generation of the next generation of Aquabat fans. So it'd be cool.
Yes. I think we got another one in us.
Probably
We can do it.
four or five ultimately.
For sure.
Not to mention having a show like that's geared towards kids, getting them into music at such a young age is so important. It's so awesome that you guys do that. And I've been to your guys' shows, and you guys have a ton of kids that show up, and it's geared towards kids. It's so rad. It's such a great time. It's so much fun, and it's so awesome that you guys are doing that.
It's crazy. Like once the show came out and caught its momentum, we hadn't played for a while because we were in production. We were making the show. And then once it aired, it took a little time, but our shows slowly started to shift from like a mostly teen demographic to now there's 4-year-olds with their parents on their shoulders. And so it's just all across the board, which is super fun.
Yeah.
It creates a really good atmosphere and energy, and it's a well-rounded audience. Great people, a lot of kids. Super fun.
That's right. I started playing music seriously when I was 11 years old. I joined beginning band in 6th grade, and I always wish that I had realized I wanted to do it sooner and started a little bit earlier. But it's just as much as we can reach out to the youth and get the kids into these things. It's huge.
Music, art,
music
drawing,
changed my life for a long time ago, and I'm forever grateful for it.
I'm sure you guys see all the young kids on Instagram shredding on the drums now that are
wild, dude. I love it.
Oh yeah.
It's exciting. It's really cool. I mean, we are in a very exciting time for music and artists of all sorts, man. They have the platform now, right? It's just 100%. Shoot a video on a phone and be in your room. You don't need expensive gear. You don't need anything. Just put it out there. It's pretty rad. And they're so young.
Yeah.
It's like they're incredible.
It is wild indeed.
Yeah, it's funny how we're all almost forced into this, where you can no longer hang out with your bandmates. We're kind of trying to self-quarantine, and all of a sudden everyone's like, oh, wow, we can actually do this at home via Skype or via, internet video, and we can track things and email them to someone else. And it's amazing what has become of what all of this has given us as far as musical freedom. I mean, you can live on the other side of the country and still be in a band, record a record. It's amazing.
Yep. You don't need all that expensive gear anymore, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Everyone can do it in the room, I love that part of it too. That's why I'm in my funk bunk. just hanging out.
Do you have a favorite city or venue or country even to play?
I do. My favorite country is definitely Australia. Like, I love the beach and I love coastal communities. So like Australia to me, and the people are super nice there. I love it. So Australia is going to be probably one of my favorite countries to play. And then this is going to throw people for a loop, but I love doing the whole Florida tour. I love like the tropical vibe. I love the hot, sweaty, like after you play a show, just go run out in the ocean and then like go back to your bus. I love that. And it's kind of like people lose their minds there at shows for some reason. It's really fun. I know people are going to be like, Florida, what? I love it.
I mean, the fest in Gainesville is a rad festival.
Is it?
I've been able to play a couple times, and it's super rad. It keeps growing every year, and
Okay.
That's a good time. That's my only. I don't think I've played anywhere in Florida other than at Fest.
Yeah,
but it's pretty rad, for sure.
it's a fun time.
They don't.
I enjoy it.
One of those. It's like punk rock holiday, and it's like one of those punk rock pilgrimages where people literally come from all over the planet to Gainesville, Florida, to watch some of their favorite punk bands play. It's wild.
Wow, that's rad.
Stop in October, and it's a good time for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they just announced that they're going to postpone this year's to next year, but
everyone was because it's late October, like crossing fingers, maybe.
Yeah.
It was inevitable, man. Yeah.
It's not looking good right now. We'll see.
Now everything's on hold, and
everything's on hold. Yeah.
What we can do is stay rehearsed and keep writing. I mean, it's a great time to write. It's everyone that I know that's not able to play and perform is just writing, which is brilliant, man. I'm stoked to see what actually comes. There's going to be a lot of really good music that comes out of the last 4 months and the next however many months we have to actually face this.
I 100% agree with that. And like right when this happened, that was the perfect opportunity to do two things: spend more time with my family and write music and play drums.
Yep.
And just practice and learn things that I don't know, and golf.
And golf. I haven't played yet. I need to go.
That's so good to hear, Rick. Like, I mean, this time with all the stuff going on, I mean, it's just it's so awesome to see a touring musician, being able to spend extra time with his family, because of all this. So I mean, it's almost like it's a great thing that I mean, as horrible as all of this is, the amount of the time to spend with your girls, and it's just so awesome.
It's basically what you choose to focus your energy on, like the bad part of it or the good part of it. Well, I mean, what's so bad about working from home and spending time with your family and taking care of what you got to take care of? Learn something new, learn a new craft. So, I mean, I see nothing but good things coming out of it for a lot of artists and musicians that are writing and taking advantage of the time to like better their craft. So.
And we're all human. We all go through rough patches,
Like I told you, I'm in a funk right now, man. I gotta go for a jog and do something. It just happens. It's natural.
It's rough, but
we
just gotta do what we can.
And that's important for people to understand, because sometimes people feel like they're the only ones in that position, right? But everyone goes through it, so that's huge.
So how many strokes have you shaved off your game during the quarantine?
What's funny is I picked up, so I was working a lot for the last like 3 years. I stopped golfing completely. And right before the lockdown, I started and I got the bug. And then it went on lockdown and they shut down. Like we went golfing the day they shut everything down. And so they reopened about, I don't know, maybe a month and a half ago. And I've been going quite a bit. So I'm doing okay. I'm back breaking 100. So I'll get down into like the 80s. That's my goal.
Nice.
But I've shaved about 20 off. I was shanking pretty bad.
I saw the Instagram video you posted of getting busted chipping in your bedroom.
See? Yeah, stuff like that.
Are you golfing?
Nope. Yeah.
Completely
My daughter
different.
busted me. I told my daughter, I'm like, oh, I'm going to bed. And then she hears golf balls flying off the wall. You got to keep it interesting.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
you got to keep the short game tight, man.
That's where it's at.
Yeah, that's where you win. That's how you win championships.
Exactly. That's how you win money from your friends.
Yeah, shave one putt off of every hole, and you're Tiger Woods, man.
I haven't lost hope. I'll be there one day.
So, Ricky, can you tell us about a perfect moment playing with sort of Jellybeans or the Aquabats that just like this moment that just rings clear of like, oh man, if I could have just kept this moment in eternity, what would it be?
You know, okay, so I'll give one of each. One memory that I have of Assorted Jellybeans was playing with Sublime at the barn in Riverside.
Okay.
I had been a huge fan of theirs, and we got put on that show. 98 Posse put us. Man, it would have been like probably like maybe 97. I'm totally terrible. I'm the worst with dates, but it'd be the late 90s for sure. Like, yeah, probably like 95, 96, maybe like 96.
Bradley died in 96, right? Or 90.
Oh gosh, so it was pretty close to like that whole thing happening.
Yeah,
I would say it was maybe 90 because I was in high school, and so maybe 95. Okay. There we go. Maybe it was 95.
Yeah.
I would say 95. I have a flyer from it. I just got to find it. I'll get back to you on that. But just, I was totally geeking out on that. That show was awesome. It was sold out. To me, it was like, oh my gosh, we've made it. Like, you know, we're still a bunch of kids just playing shows, and we got put on that show, and that was surreal. And then a bucket list thing for me for the Aquabats was I had worked a lot of Coachellas, and I've been working the festival for quite a few years, and we had never played it, and I've always wanted to play it. And 2011, we had the opportunity to play the festival, and I didn't know how people would respond to the Aquabats being at Coachella, but Coachella in all its diversity, like it went over really well, and we had a huge crowd, and just seeing all those people out there, and like that was just a bucket list thing for me. And so playing there, that whole moment was pretty special. Danny DeVito came up on stage, and it was just like, what is happening right now? This is crazy. We went all out for that. So that's definitely a moment that sticks out in my head. Awesome. I love that. Yeah, that whole weekend was really fun.
That's awesome. So sticking with the old school,
yeah.
The Showcase Theater in Corona was a classic venue for years. And I know
yeah.
you guys played there a ton. I saw we saw a ton of bands there growing up. Is there any show in particular that you remember at the Showcase Theater?
At the Showcase?
Yeah.
I remember a few shows there. Actually, we played there so many times. Let me think here.
And in particular, you know, just playing with someone there at this just classic venue that was just.
We played. So on the flip side of that, we played there with 311 actually.
Wow.
And we went into that like, oh my God, they're gonna be so rad. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna meet them. Just totally naive, like, but like Punishers. We're like young Punishers, right? Like, wanting to meet the band. Maybe we'll like hang out, whatever. And we get there and no one was there for the opening band, which was us. So we played to maybe like 20 people because no one really cared. And we're like, where's everyone at, man? This band is huge. They have a song on the radio. And then of course, like, first of all, we didn't get to meet them. Second of all, when they were about to play, they were in their bus the whole time. So they came out right before they started to play, and they left right after they played. So it was kind of a Spinal Tap moment. We're just like, yeah, we're gonna be hooked up. We're gonna meet them, and we
Rock
just
and
like,
roll.
yeah. So that to me that was funny, and that's when I learned. I'm like, oh well, maybe we just stick to ourselves and play shows and not try to ride people's coattails. Yeah, that was a funny show. A lot of people showed up. Like, I don't know where they came from either, because there was 20 people when we played, and then right when they played, the place was like packed. You couldn't even walk in there. You couldn't walk or breathe. Yeah.
That's where you have to flyer your own show to get those same people to try to go to your next show.
Yep, absolutely.
We did that.
We did
that. I saw a lot of our flyers on the floor that night.
There was nothing else you could do back in the day. There wasn't
No.
Facebook.
Oh no, it's just
Or MySpace. There was no internet marketing. It was all straight street walking, throwing out flyers, going to other shows, handing out flyers.
Mhm.
That was a culture in itself.
Absolutely.
Like, flyering shows was like, you got to go to a show, you got to flyer for your band, you got to meet people doing it.
Yep.
That was like fun in itself. That was really cool. Making your flyers and then passing them out at other people's shows. That was like fun.
Going to Staples or Kinko's and just
Yeah.
All right, we got to print 500 pages. There's 4 flyers on each page.
Who's
handing them out? Who's gonna go? So you gotta go to this show with this many. You gotta hand out all of them. Rick, as far as influences, who are your major influences growing up? Who are your major influences now?
So growing up, Stuart Copeland was a huge influence on me.
Amazing.
I listened to a lot of reggae. So a lot of like the reggae drumming that like I listened to everything and anything that had an upbeat in it. So definitely Stuart Copeland, a lot of those old school reggae drummers, and then the classics like John Bonham. And then I learned to play the music first before I got into high school. So I was playing along to like weird stuff like Chicago and Steely Dan, a lot of Led Zeppelin, even U2. I was playing to whatever CDs were in my uncle's or my dad's collection. So that was like Steely Dan, John Bonham, The Police, rad stuff, Talking Heads. Like, so I was playing along to those songs. But I would say the main guys are like Steve Gadd from Steely Dan, and he played with a lot of other artists. John Bonham, and then Stuart Copeland in my early years.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, right?
makes perfect sense.
I really thought I could play like them, and then I listened back. I'm like, whoa, let's revisit this.
It's amazing going into the studio or a studio setting the first time and actually hearing what it is, like dissected every note. And you're like, oh shit, I'm not quite as good as I thought I was.
Yes. What a learning process that is, though, because you can really perfect yourself. And if you get good in the studio, you're good live. Because everything comes through in there, right? Like consistency of the snare hits, hi-hats are too loud, all the nuances. Like, so that's pretty rad. I love dissecting it. And whenever I go into the studio, the producer we work with, his name's Cameron Webb. He's like, no, do it again. Like, he'll want me to go right away, but I'm like, no, let me hear it so I can hear where it's wrong or where it's off or how it sounds.
Yep.
And then 9 times out of 10, I can hear it back and be like, okay, fix this, and that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can hear everything and you hear what it sounds like, and
Right.
you just fix it right there, you know. You grow as a musician for sure doing that in the studio. It's pretty cool.
Absolutely, it's huge. We've asked this question to just about everyone, but we're reformatting it now, and it's more of what are your favorite parts about recording and playing in the studio, and what are your favorite parts about live performance?
So my favorite parts about recording in the studio with the Aquabats, it's a little different because everyone's kind of pretty busy in their own personal lives. So we may not have a song all the way down rehearsed as a band. Right. So we create something a lot of the times, like we'll have a rough roadmap. And so building something in the studio with everyone there, like maybe you have like 30% of the song, but then by the time you're done with it, at the end of the day, you have this whole new direction of where you went. And so kind of just creating things sometimes out of thin air is really fun for me in the studio. That's when the magic happens, I feel like, right? Like, absolutely. And on that same token, like we were discussing earlier, like when you were playing drums and you hear back, you're like, oh, that doesn't sound how I thought it would have sounded. Then something completely different happens and something else is made. So just not knowing what you're going to end up with and creating something that could potentially be magic or new. I love that about the studio. On the similar note, playing live with the Aquabats, we have a lot of breakdowns in our songs. So like our singer, the back commander, will talk for literally 10, 15 minutes in the middle of a song, and I got to keep the drum beat going. The rhythm section usually goes, and it's all improv. So we have a big improv side of our show that I really enjoy, and just kind of like not knowing where it's going either. So playing live, just the whole improv aspect is really fun.
Yeah, definitely. I get scolded fairly often for
Do you?
For the liberties that I take on occasion. I mean, every once in a while.
He should take them.
Every once in a while, I'm in the moment, and I'm just like, oh, this fill would be badass if it was extended like this much and like did it play this way. And like when you feel something in a live setting, when I feel it, it comes through my hands. I can't necessarily help it. It's like I hear this differently, and this in those situations, you're in the moment. There's a fuckload of people watching. It's something that I've always said that when I'm in the zone, you could literally walk up and punch me in the face as hard as you can, and I wouldn't realize that it happened because I'm so focused. It's almost like an out of body experience. I'm so
totally
there. Literally nothing else in the world matters except for that specific moment, and it's really hard to explain.
It's a lot like finding the pocket with a group of guys. When you play music, or guys, girls, whoever it may be, musicians, you're playing music with a group of musicians for long enough, or even if you just met, there's a pocket. And if you find a pocket with that person.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you ever experience that like, I believe there's a drummer high, like there's a runner's high. I jog.
Absolutely.
And you just get the chills and you're like, whoa, it's just going. That is the best feeling.
It's indescribable. I couldn't describe it to someone if I wanted to.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Just that feeling in the moment, the crowd cheering and singing your songs, singing songs that you helped write. It's just, I mean, I've jumped out of an airplane. I love snowboarding, and I love all of that shit. Adrenaline's my thing. That feeling, that high is unbeatable. I haven't found anything to beat it yet.
There's no better high than playing live on stage in front of a group, like a massive crowd of people. Yep. It's just the best feeling in the world.
Next time your bandmates say like, hey man, dude, why'd you do that? That's not how the song goes. Just tell them you have percussive diarrhea and you have a doctor's note. Hey man, are you discriminating against my bell, my percussive diarrhea? You can't do that. What are you doing, man?
diarrhea, and I mean,
I can't control it.
that's incredibly accurate.
It's ID as irritable drum syndrome.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Boom.
Thing. I know I'm not the only one.
Stand 10 feet away. I have percussive diarrhea.
It's perfect.
But it's also like the band you're in, because I would imagine, Josh, with Murderland, if you were to throw a couple extra measures of a drum fill, that Mike and everyone would be totally cool with it. But maybe a little bit different with the Bomb Pops. They're like, let's stay within our.
Yeah, absolutely. Murderland encourages it, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And more often than not, I get bitched out for not playing enough or playing too slow, even, which I've never, ever had that.
God bless Murderland.
In the Bomb Pops.
You got to switch hats when you're in the Bomb Pops.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
You guys are tight. The Bomb Pops are tight.
Yeah.
Neil and I have been playing music together for 18 years, and having my bass player and my little brother, having that connection that we have just normally, let alone musically, is so incredibly valuable. It's a connection that can't be, it has to come with time. And I've been with Murderland for going on 13 years now. And Jared and I have created a very, very good connection as well. And just having those musical connections. And in the Bomb Pops, it's the same way on the other side. The girls have been playing music together for about 15 years now. And having that much time spent with someone else, knowing the ins and outs, Neil and I can read each other so well on stage that if I'm going to play a different fill, if I'm going to play an elongated fill, if I'm going to do something different, he can sense just by the slight difference that I played leading up to it, or just even catching a glimpse of me and noticing my body language is abnormal. He catches on. We catch on. It's like it's mind reading. It's insane.
For sure.
Like when you're that connected with someone, I know exactly how he plays and how he's going to play it. I know what he's feeling in this moment, and I'm going to follow along. And it's just when those situations work out, it's absolutely brilliant.
It is awesome. I can relate to that. We do that live a lot. We the first show of the tour, second show of the tour is always kind of like filling each other out and getting back on that wavelength, right?
Always.
But once you get going, you guys are finishing each other's sentences by then. The third show, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, totally.
What is that thing right there behind you? Right there.
Which one? The hi-hat stand? There's so many things behind.
I'm back.
You got both of us.
You got both of us. That's why I love you so much.
I thought we already went over the ministry.
Oh yeah, the drum set. Never mind. Jesse.
Yeah.
How are you?
Doing awesome.
All right. Where are you at?
So I live in McKinney, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas.
Okay.
Born and raised in Southern California, and went to Dana Hills High School and Los Alamitos High School as well.
Oh, nice.
And then about 7 years ago or so, moved out here to Texas. And then about 3 years ago, got back into drums. So got a custom drum company. I was one of the early builders of OCDP back in the 90s.
Really?
Yeah, back when Travis was a Aquabat drummer. And
did you work with Josh?
Oh, Josh Lamb?
Yeah.
So Josh Lamb came in shortly after I had left.
Okay.
But when
Daniel.
So Daniel, he was he was the president, the starter. Him and John were the two guys, and then Adrian Young bought into the company as well.
I remember.
And But yeah, so I came in about like 97 and stayed till about 99 or so. And then kind of moved on from there. And then about 3 years ago, so I moved out to a farm out in Texas, a little hobby farm. And,
that is awesome.
And I decided, let's turn this little barn into a drum shop. So started building drums again, and people were contacting me about getting some custom work. And then last year I talked to Josh so Josh came on as my first endorser.
Nice.
And so he's playing Oakwist drums now. And we're creating some new stuff as well. He's got a sweet aluminum steel hollow body snare.
Wow.
And
how does that?
Beautiful too. It sounds
really.
Yeah, it's got a so it's an aluminum shell, like a 3 millimeter aluminum shell, and a 20 plies of maple in the middle. So like a 20. So it's essentially a half-inch echo chamber, and then it's got wrapped steel on the inside as well too. And
wow.
It's got a real unique, it's a real pure sound. You notice that, Josh? Does it kind of have like a...
Honestly, it rivals a bell brass. So it's got the hole here. There's the inside shell, and on the bottom you can see the 20 ply hoops.
Yep.
And then the inner shell. It's heavy. It rivals a bell brass. It really does.
Beautiful.
Crazy.
Drum. Beautiful sound.
It sounds incredible. And Jesse and I were kind of spitballing, just kind of bullshitting over text one day, and it was right before we went out with Master Intruder for a few weeks, and we were going to Oklahoma, and Jesse ended up surprising me with this drum at that show.
Yep.
And I played it that night, and I fell in love with it, and he let me take it home with me that night, and then we started discussing specs for the first kit, and it is a brilliant sounding snare drum.
That's awesome.
I love wood drums.
Yep.
This is only the second metal drum snare drum that I've ever owned. And it's absolutely brilliant. I love everything about it.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's 20 plies of maple, you said?
Yeah, so it's about an inch thick on top and the bottom of maple, and then so it's a 6.5 inch snare. So then the echo chamber is like 4 inches on the inside.
Wow.
And there's only 2 vents on it, but there's not like a vent like on the inside of the snare as well too. So it has to go through the steel cylinder first, and then go through the aluminum to come out as far as through the shell, and then it also comes out, of course, through the top and the bottom head too. So it just got a real sweet, pure sound to it, which is I hadn't heard one like that before. I've made like 20, 30, 40 ply snares and and all that, and then this was just a unique sound to it. So we we're kind of spitballing and came up, and I had that shell, and I'm like, let's just try something new, and it just came out really cool. So
that's creative, man. That's really cool, actually.
I was just always looking for something new, and then also this National Drum League is the other idea I came up with a couple years ago, and it was really just to celebrate drummers, and the whole thing. And when you have a company, you can kind of just talk with the people who are in that company. As far as I couldn't do like, hey, we're doing Oakwist drums, and now we're talking with, someone with PDP or, with DW or with Tom or whatever. It's like, well, we're this. So it's like, let's have a company that's just like focusing on celebrating drums. They got a humanitarian aspect to it as well, where we're looking to rehab drums and give them to young drummers and families that couldn't afford drums.
That is such a good thing. That is awesome.
Yeah, just get the music, and of course, even schools can't even afford, drums.
I know they're slashing budgets, like the music budgets are going.
And it's only going to get worse with the pandemic. So, they're literally cutting, even a third of the classes and a third of the teachers and the whole thing. So how can we figure out some way to get music to? So it's kind of like, people who have extra drums, what's something that you don't you wouldn't notice if you got rid of it at all. It could be just tom or a bass drum or snare drum or whatever. They can rehab those things and get them up to speed so that, you know, a young drummer could really benefit from them.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, how many musicians out there have warehouses of storage that just stuff sitting around, you know?
Yeah.
I know I have stuff like that's a great idea.
I've got another kit that I didn't know what to do with for the time being, and my ex-girlfriend turned it into a dining table and end tables, but made sure that there was nothing structurally done to where if I wanted to put the drum set back together, I can put it back together again. And that kit's literally just sitting in my storage unit right now.
That's cool.
And collecting dust. And it's like, I'm actually picking up a drum set tomorrow in LA to refab for this guy that is going to pay me to do it. Yeah. But I might pick up mine out of my storage unit as well, put it back together, see what pieces it's missing, what it needs to get to be fully operational, and find donate it.
That's awesome. That's a good cause, man. It was hard for me to get a drum kit early on, you know? So that's really cool. We have a new record coming out, actually.
Okay.
It was supposed to come out in June, but we decided to wait a little bit just because of everything that's happening right now. We decided to give that a little space and you know, let things kind of cool off a little bit. But it's set to release on the 21st of August. It's called Kooky Spooky in Stereo. Boom. But yeah, so we have a new record, and then that's really the only thing that we have that I'd like to talk about, other than that's it, actually. Yeah, just plug the record. We have that coming out.
Awesome. Well, we'll be able to have your record as a sponsor for the show when we air this one.
Okay.
So
awesome. That'd be cool.
Cross.
Hey, what's the name of your drum company so I could follow you guys if I don't already?
So Oquist Drums, OQVIST.
Oquist, okay. I think I might follow you guys. I think I do, actually.
Yeah, I think we follow you, and I think there's some connection. But yeah, I was in the I was at the shop when Daniel came in and said, "Hey, so we got a new rock star on our hands. Travis just signed with Blink. He's joining them up." And but before that, you know, he didn't, obviously, you know, Travis didn't have any money, and so he would come in like once a month or so, you know, driving from Riverside, and he'd like bring some snares, and the heads looked like they were like cereal bowls. They were like so beat in.
Yeah.
You know, there's like, and they'd have girls' phone numbers written all over the entire head. Like 20 phone numbers, and like girls, Jennifer, of course, would be tons of Jennifers and tons of Ashleys, and, you know, and Heathers and whatever else, all the names that parents named their daughters in the 70s. And so we would just take them, you know, just like, here, we'll just give you a new head. So we just literally like just lift this thing and like put it down, and like the head would like be like wobbling because it was like so concave.
Yep.
And we just, you know, put some new heads in there, and you go, okay, thanks guys, you know. And then we made him a champagne sparkle kit for his first Blink show. I think they played a festival at Irvine Meadows. Was like the first Blink show that he played, and his friend who was the drum tech forgot the bass drum at Irvine Meadows, didn't load it up. They contacted him back, contacted Irvine Meadows, and they said, "No, we haven't seen a bass drum here." So we had to make a new bass drum for him.
Oh,
who does that?
How did that go missing?
I don't know. So I'm guessing there's some pawn shop that's got this, you know, legendary bass drum. That's,
you know, one of my favorite snares. I got rid of it a while back. It was a early OCDP silver sparkle that I got from Janie Nunn from Guttermouth.
Yeah.
I bought it off him.
Was it a 20 ply or a 10 ply?
No, it was a 10 ply.
Okay. Was it vented?
Baltimore lugs. I used that thing for a lot of years, and then I even took it in to you guys, and I think you guys even like kind of redid the edges because it was beat up, and then I used it for some years after that. And I go through a lot of different snares. I have like I have quite a few, but I'll trade different ones and stuff. But I got rid of that one, and I regret it because it was one of your early drums.
Well, Rick, thank you so much for your interview on behalf of National Drum League and Jesse and Josh and I. We've all been huge fans, and I love the dinosaur, the colors of it. My son's favorite color is rainbow, if that makes sense whatsoever.
That's a color.
We really appreciate all the time that you've given us and the feedback and everything. It's such an awesome thing to be able to do this and reach out to people during this time when people can't see live music, you know, so at least at bare minimum they can see their favorite artists. And you are one of mine. You are one of Josh's. I mean, you were looked up to you growing up, man. So
I appreciate that.
It's been awesome, dude. So thank you so much for being
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Stay healthy, gentlemen.
Will do.
Peace.
Love you, brother.
Play them drums.
Stay
Paradiddle, 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 flammadiddle, flammadiddle.